Again, Powri sanctioning body for this super stock class. Picked that up a couple of years ago. Have the national point standings for them now. And again, they will be here in October in the opening weekend whenever they are here for the Big Buck 50. If you like what you saw in the MLRA that was here just a little while ago, they will also be here that weekend. That is October 3rd, 4th, and 5th, the MLRA Fall Nationals and the 8th Annual Big Buck 50 on that first weekend in October. Lights are out across the track. Green flag in the hand. The Bill Roberts Chevrolet Pace truck is ducked to the infield. Johnny Coates looking out the left side of that car, looking for that Pitts Realty start zone. On his outside, it's Darren Chrysler. Chrysler gets a nose out in front, but Johnny Coates will answer, and we're underway. No, not so much. Had a feeling Darren Chrysler got just a little bit of a head start over Johnny Coates, and Mike Striegel saw the same thing. During almost all of the heat races, looked like the pole car, the minute they got to that first flag, would start. And you got to think the cars starting outside of row one picked up on that, probably thinking that's the way it's going to be all night. But Johnny Coates was a little slower. Darren Chrysler pushed the go button a little too soon. So Mike Striegel gets them stacked and packed side by side again. Going to keep my eye on Taylor Carver sitting back there inside row number 2 in that number 40. Like how he looked earlier on. Has a pretty good pedigree to his name. See if he has anything for that front row. And Johnny Coates this time is the control car, and we're underway. Here's Taylor Carver. Johnny Coates gets a little sideways in turn 2, and it's going to cost him 4 spots. He goes from P1 back to 5th. Finally gets it righted, able to hang on to 4th, and Taylor Carver capitalizes, leading lap 1. And a parking lot in turn 4. Still looking to get that first of 20 laps in. Nice start for Johnny Coates. Able to stay out in front of Taylor Carver this time, but here comes Carver to the inside. Nose in front, a little bit of sheet metal rub as they enter turn number 2. Taylor Carver will lead the first lap. Spin over in turn 2. And Mike Striegel will have to flow the yellow out again, the Midwest Sheet Metal caution flag. Up in the air. And this is for the 10 of Steve Beach. Beecher out of Eldon, Missouri. Former champ at Lake Ozark. And a 3-time champ at Double X. Taylor Carver, front row all to his own. Johnny Coates is running in second. He chooses to go to the inside. Puts Brian Brown to his right-hand side. Slow pace for the super stocks down the backstretch. Still have 19 laps left before the checkered will fly. Wind has picked up even a little bit more now coming out of the south. As Carver slow until he sees that Pitts Realty restart zone. And he is slow to get on the gas through that restart zone. Kept everybody bunched up back behind him. We get through the front stretch nice and clean. Get through turns 1 and 2 nice and clean. And Taylor Carver out to a 3-car length advantage over Brian Brown, as now Ted Welshmeyer peeks his nose to the inside of Johnny Coates. Tell you something else I like about these super stocks. This is the first time in about 3 years I've seen them A lot of these cars are very faithful to their font style, their color scheme. Ted Welshmeyer in that 21W, that is the exact same look that car had when he was back here in 2020. I didn't even see him in the pit area, didn't know he was here until I got back up to the booth. Didn't see him on my sheets at all, but the second I saw him on the track, I knew exactly who it was. He's battling to the inside of Brian Brown now. They're both about a second behind Taylor Carver as those two orange and yellow cars continue to duke it out side by side. Johnny Coates has fallen back to fourth. He's up on the top side, and Nick Gibson, for even having that damage that he had, actually that's Chrysler, my apologies, that's Darren Chrysler in the 1C. He is still in fifth. And Kenny Carroll, first time he has raced since 2021. He took a 3-year hiatus, and whenever he heard the Super Stocks were coming back to Lucas Oil Speedway, he says he wants to come get some. And Kenny Carroll is running in sixth. His son, JT, has been racing for a while, and Kenny Carroll is showing him how it's done right now. JT sitting back in 13th. They started one row apart. Well, it took us a while to get one lap in, but now that we have, we are clicking them off at a pretty good little pace right now. We're up to 8 laps completed now. And Taylor Carver, we mentioned last year he ran one race, got the win. So far this year, he ran at Diamond Park back on April 6th. Didn't get to start the race as he is now caught up with lap traffic. And the Midwest Sheet Metal caution comes out for a spin in turn 4. Last time that Taylor Carver started, he got off to a rolling start over in turn 4. Didn't really get to speed too fast, gradually got there. A little quicker this go around, and I think it shows on the track. He's already out by 3 car lengths, but Ted Welshmeyer is there. Can Ted Welshmeyer get a bead on Taylor Carver? Carver's got the bullseye on the back bumper right now, and that bullseye is getting smaller and smaller in Ted Welshmeyer's eyes as Carver's starting to pull away. But the caution is the equalizer. Midwest Sheet Metal caution out again. Apparently some debris here on the front stretch. Pretty big piece of debris. Right in the middle of the track. Couple pieces actually dug into the clay here. Get to do it all over again tomorrow. 3 classes on hand as the Legends cars will not be here, but we will have the Show Me Vintage Racers. We will have these Powri Super Stocks. And, of course, the MLRA late models. All 3 will be here, so start time will stay the same. 6:30 hot laps. Hopefully, green flag drops at 7 o'clock with time trials right after opening ceremonies. We are halfway through this 20-lap feature. Ted Welshmeyer decides to go to the inside again. He's able to hang on to Taylor Carver's back bumper for the first lap. But as you start to get into the longer run, Taylor Carver starts to inch out a little more lap by lap. And again, give Kenny Carroll a ton of credit. Again, in that Rays Lake Service, Kenny Carroll Excavating, Alamo Arms, the Gravel Pile, Whitetail Trophy Hunt sponsors on the Ditch Diggers car, that Franklin chassis and Rubel engine. He actually helped to start the Big Buck 8 events ago. I know he's one of the drivers that's really happy to see it come back. Didn't get to run it last year because of rain that came in. Hopefully the rain will stay away this year and we can get it put back on the books again. Ted Welshmeyer, good run through turn 1. But there goes Taylor Carver. Pulls away again down the backstretch, just has too many horses. Welshmeyer is able to draw him in through the turns. Much better exit to turn 4 this time. Welshmeyer able to hang with him. Welshmeyer just has to stay there with him. Has to make sure he is able to pounce if there is any type of bobble by Taylor Carver at all. And Carver's the type of driver that it's going to take something unforeseen for him to have a mistake. Pretty flawless whenever he is able to pick and choose where he wants to go. And Ted Welshmeyer may have had that one last-ditch effort, just didn't quite pan out as of yet. Chrysler to the inside in a battle for 4th. A little deeper in the field, Kenny Carroll has his hands full with Chrysler, and Johnny Coates, who started on the pole, spins and brings out the Midwest Sheet Metal caution again. Johnny Coates diving into turn 3. May have carried a little too much speed in and whipped it around. The first few laps is where Ted Welshmeyer is able to hang on to Taylor Carver, not really let him get away. If Carver is able to hold off that early rally from Ted Welshmeyer, he's usually able to put a couple of laps together and get out in front. So these short runs, got to think that plays a little more into Ted Welshmeyer's hands than it does Taylor Carver. Carver would like nothing more than to see 7 straight green flag laps right here. Starts out high in 3 and 4. Dives down a little earlier start than what he was doing through that Pitts Realty restart zone. And Ted Welshmeyer's right there. Kenny Carroll letting it all hang out on the top side. Derek Brown on the low side. He's into the top 5. Cars running 1, 2, 3, all single file. And Derek Brown, he wants to join the party. To the inside of Brown he goes. Derek Brown started in 15th. He is up to 3rd. And now you got to think if there's another late race caution that comes out, Derek Brown might be the car that Taylor Carver has to think about holding off. Kenny Carroll still up in 4th, and Brian Brown went from 3rd to 5th in the span of a lap, and we're down to 5 laps to go. Carver by 6 car lengths, make it 7, make it 8. Then it's another 8 car lengths back to Derek Brown, and the caution comes out for an incident in turns 1 and 2. Caleb Brown started in 26th, he's up to 10th, but Derek Brown and Chris Kircher have both improved 12 spots, and Derek Brown may be in a position to pounce. Single file restarts from here on out. That's going to make it a little better for Taylor Carver as the green is back up and the hammer goes down. Derek Brown, a little bit of a gap between second and third. 0.8 seconds from Carver to Welshmeyer. Then a second from Welshmeyer back to Derek Brown. Laps winding down. 2 sticks in the hands of Mike Striegel. And a big hit by a car over in turn 3. The big white tire that's usually down on the apron, it's all the way up over the cushion. A heavy, heavy hit. And now the big white tire is going to come back down the track. I wouldn't get in that way. Oops. He has had the fastest average lap out of anybody on the track. His last lap was the fastest out of anybody else out on the track by about 0.3 of a second. He's going to have 2 more fast laps to stay ahead of Ted Welshmeyer and Derek Brown and Kenny Carroll and Brian Brown. Those are your top 5. Derek Brown is looking for some traction. Looking to the top of the track, he's going to have to do something different than Taylor Carver is since he's on the bottom with 1 to go. Taylor Carver was perfect last year. He ran 1 race. He ran and he won in his only feature last year. He's going to start the season this year with a win at Lucas Oil Speedway. Taylor Carver was supposed to get a race underneath his belt at Diamond Park back in April. Didn't make the start, so his first official start of the season in 2024, and it ends up being a win here at Lucas Oil Speedway. Taylor Carver wins by a second over Ted Welshmeyer. Derek Brown another 2 seconds back in third. Ed Gregg's got around Kenny Carroll for fourth, Carroll in fifth. Then it's Brian Brown, Michael Muskrat, Chris Kircher, Blaine Ewing, and JT Carroll, your top 10. So a pair of Carrolls both get top 10 finishes, but the old man gets the upper hand over JT, as he was able to get a top 5.